This day 295 of Zohar Pshat, and we're on Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. Happens to be this week is the week before Pesach, and happens to be something here about Pesach, which is pretty remarkable. We are about 10 lines at the top of the page. Toch hazeh. Ksiv l'sari kavu amay tachas hashmayim makom echad. Mitachas hashmayim mamish. Says afterwards all the water gathered from under the heavens to one place, and that is literally under the heavens. In other words, a place down below. Makom echad l'asad yikrei echad, to a place which is called echad v'yam tatah, which is the sea below. The where everything becomes one. We talked about this. Lo ilu lo yikrei echad, without it's not called one. Mashik si kavu beidim kanshikula maya. All the water gathers together. In other words, all the shefa gathers in this one place until it's released by whoever releases it. All the shefa, all the influence goes to one place. So Yashamar and Makom Echad, the one place though you aside. This is a place of Syria. It says Ubrishlomi lo tomut. This my covenant of peace will not collapse. You not the kula. Everything takes everything Ushai biyama and puts into the sea. Based now. Based Takanas Ara. With this, the land is fixed. Now, the land is fixed because the seas have receded from it, and there's land, which didn't exist previously. Yabasha. The dry land is seen. Doyu Eretz. That's the land. Kedena Marta, it says Yabasha Eretz. Now, my Ikre Yabasha. Why is it called Yabasha? The dry land. It says Lechem Oni. Matzo, it's called Lechem Oni, the bread of poverty. Lechem Oni Ksiv, it's written without a vav, it's written Oni. And the Derech Emes says, Yisod is Oni Ukneset Zol Anim. It's from Zohar Parshas Vayechi. I'm not sure we need to come on to that, but rather to begin the Iu Lechem. Since it is lechem ani ikrei yabasha, because it's the bread of impoverished, it's called yabasha. It's called dry. V'shoy b'gavo kamei min da'ama, and absorbs all the waters of the world. V'yavasha have, and remains dry adasar da, until this place imela fills it up, and. The Lechem says, "Milosam shefa rava elyon." It fills them with a great flow from on high. In parentheses says, "Kum shesh be'brachus b'malchus, v'yotzia harbei b'shlemus." The Yabasha is the malchus. It's the oretz, which is dry, and until it gets full from the sea. And the water comes through its sources. Okay, now before we go on, so let's explain this a little more. It says in the Gemara Erevin Daf Nun Daled, "Olam Yosim Adam Atzmo Midbar." A person has to make himself like a desert. It says, there's a famous drasha on the Shira in Parshas Chukas, Midbar Matana Nachliel, etc., etc. And if you make yourself like a Midbar, you get the Torah like a Matana. You get the Torah as a gift. What does that mean? So a person has to make himself humble and dry, thirsty, like a midbar. A person has to make themselves dry and thirsty for Torah and for Avodas Hashem. So the land itself, the area of Malchus, evidently is something which has to not just be dry, but understand it's dry. Lo rav lechem v'lo tzoma l'mayim ki mishma dvar Hashem. There's a thirst to hear the dvar Hashem. A person has to make himself thirsty to hear the dvar Hashem. I saw that the Sulam and others say that the Aretz is nukva. It's the nukva is the desire to be filled with connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the idea of Malchus, and that's the idea of Ani. Now, Ani is matzah, also lechem ani, but because it's dry, because it is not chametz, it yearns to be able to receive, and therefore it can be also lechem oni, lechem sh'oni lo dvarim harbe, because only somebody who recognizes that they know nothing, or relatively nothing, like the Rambam says, tachlis idea shelo neda, that the ultimate knowledge that we don't know. If a person understands that, a person is not arrogant. A person doesn't feel that they are full. A person doesn't feel, I already have all the answers, which, of course, many of us, including myself, have a tendency sometimes to feel. So then a person can constantly be growing. A person can constantly be receiving. The midbar can looks for the water to fill it up from all the different sources from which it can come. And then a person can obviously become lechem only harbe, a person who's not impoverished anymore, but then becomes full of good things to sing and say at the Seder. But not just in the Seder, obviously, it's a mashal for the entire year. And it's always a cycle, right? A person gets to a level that they know something, then they become an ani again, realizing how much more there is to know. And then they know more, and they become an ani again. And saying this is true about Torah, and it's true about Abba Yisrael in general. And that's the land is supposed to be Yabasha. It's supposed to feel dry, even if it's very moist, that it still needs more and more and more. And it wants to get more and more and more of what the Mikveh HaMayim has. So this idea of Yabasha and Mayim, there's a relationship in which the person has to feel he's Midbar. He's like a desert which needs more and more, and wants to get more and more, and wants to always grow. And not to feel ever, I'm ready like an Eden. I'm ready full. I don't need any more. I have everything. So that the waters are there. They're waiting to be unlocked. They're waiting to be drawn from. Who can draw from the water? The person who's Samalamayim, the person who feels thirsty, the person who feels Yavesh. So therefore, a person has to be, it says by the Mun, Nafsheni Yavesha Ein Kol, right? So that's not the type of Yavesha we're looking for. The person feels Yavesha and wants to have more connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, what the Zohar is telling us here is that the idea of Yabasha is the idea of Lechem Ani, to feel that a person is, and there's a Lashon Chazal, Ein Ani Ela B'das, to feel I need to get more. And there many illustrations of Chazal which are parallels, like only me I said them smoking scope on dresses. Person makes himself like a threshold upon everybody's steps. There also it means that a person should always allow other people to derive benefit from him. And here also, I think being in the Midbar, there's a Gemara in Yabasha, I think Daf Nudan, it says Nichse Akma Reim K'Midbar. Whatever the Gemara means there, it's an interesting Gemara. But the idea is Hefker Lakol. Person has to be like the idea is something is hefker. It's like a midbar. Midbar is a place of hefker, and this idea is, I think it's the same because Chazal also says the same thing about Yoav's house. Yoav lived in the midbar, and the whole discussion on those lines of his, he was always a tremendous machlis orchim. The house is like a midbar that people are always coming in. So there's another aspect here, which is a person should be like a midbar, meaning a person has to be open to other people. And has to be willing to deal with other people, whoever they are, and make himself available to everybody else. And again, a person who he makes himself available to everybody else, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him more kedusha, more hashpah, so he mashpiyah to others. I heard this once from my Rebbe, Rabbi Ephraim Eisenberg, that's on the name of Tzadok. The first of Tzadok I think I ever heard, that Talmidei Yosim Kulam means the more Talmidim you have, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to send you tinoros of kedusha to give your Talmidim. So therefore, this is the idea here as well, that a person should make himself like a midbar, like an ani, bedas, so he gets more das to give to other people, and he always is looking to connect those other people to give them more das. Okay, Yishma Chacham b'Yosef das, but it's enough for today.